Welcome to the View in Your Mirror podcast. We are your hosts, Lisa Rubin and Katie Harms. From new moves to tried and true strategies, we'll dissect the ways in which clothing and a little organization can and does affect your daily life. Come along as we hope to inspire, engage, and shape your rituals as well as your shapewear.
What an exciting episode we have coming up, Lisa.
I am very excited about this one. I look forward to it. It's finally here, and we finally have our first guest.
Since we started talking about doing a podcast, this has always been your idea of who you wanted as the first guest.
It has.
Jennifer Tattanelli, and you have been working with Jennifer for quite a while. We'll hear more about that as we talk to her. Not only is she our first guest, I think this is her first podcast.
I think
talk
it
a little
is
bit
too.
more about that as well. So without further ado, let's get right into our conversation with Jennifer.
Sounds good.
Jennifer Tattanelli, designer, mother, wife, friend, and a true Italian American. How did you and Lisa first meet?
Oh my. Lisa, would you like to explain the story of
No,
the beginning and then
I'll
continue.
start the story.
Yes.
Start the story.
I think
and
it's
you
best.
can take it from there. I was in Italy on a trip with my husband for our wedding anniversary. And it was like the end of the day. And I got one day to really shop and do my thing. And it was towards the end of the day. And I walked by Jennifer's store in Florence. And I looked into the windows and I thought, this is not normal. I have to go in here. And it was like a magnet. I walked into the store and I'm looking around and it was like a department store. But I noticed things I hadn't noticed anywhere else. So I walked up and I'm looking around. And the woman her name is Sabine. I know Sabine very well now. I walked in and she said, "What can I help you with?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I've always wanted a shearling coat, but I don't think you have what I want." And she said, "Well, what do you want?" And so I said, "Well, you do custom?" And she goes, "Yeah, we do custom. I'll do anything you want." I said, "No, you can't do what I want." And so she goes, "Well, what do you want?" And Jennifer was around the corner, which I did not know, nor did I know Jennifer, nor did I know she owned the store and everything else.
This
You
point,
take it from there.
Sabine goes, is French, and she goes to Olga and says, I just don't know how I'm going to help this. And so Olga comes and says, "Jennifer, you have got to come down. I don't know what to do." She just says, "No," she says, "There's nothing you can do." So I said, "Okay." I went in, I had listened already, not saying a word. I go up and say, "Hello, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Jennifer. How can I help you?" "I don't think you can help me." I go, "Well, what would you like?" "Okay, I want that fur, that color, that collar, that cuff, and this, like this." And I go, "Okay, I can do it." And she looked at me and goes, "Really?" And that was it. We started talking and we started
I never
shopping.
told her what I did for a living yet until we got to
I had
the
no
counter.
idea. I had no idea. She was a little bit difficult, but she liked, I'll never forget what you bought. The first one was my jersey wrap
Still have
shirt,
it.
and you still have it.
I still have
was
I bought
one of my,
I bought a handbag,
Yeah.
the coat, the jersey wrap blouse, and a pair
and
of
the
shoes.
shearling.
And the shearling.
Excuse
Yeah.
me. That was the most, I sweat until she received it and said, "I love it." Oh, you have no idea. So that
Okay,
was
but-
where first, and everybody's
No,
like,
but
"Oh
then
my
let's
God."
talk about when we were at the counter ready to ring up. And
Oh.
so she's filling everything out. And all of a sudden I get in my head, oh my God, I got to get her to Minnesota and do a trunk show for my clients. It came out of nowhere. I've been doing this for years and years and years. Never have I had that moment. And so I leaned over the counter and I said, "Okay, so here's the deal." This is when she found out what I did. I said, "You don't know me and I don't know you, but I'm a wardrobe consultant." And I threw my card on the counter. I said,
Wait, and I'll say at that moment, going, "Oh, here we go again. Another one that wants to try and do." I've had so many of those. Go on.
Okay. So I said, "I'm from Minnesota. We don't wear overalls and drive tractors." She stopped. She goes, "I have a few clients in Minnesota. I know that." I thought, oh, I like her now. I said, "I have a pretty good business. I have a lot of clients and I could sell the crap out of this stuff. There's nothing like it." I said, "Do you do trunk shows?" And she looks up at me and she goes, "Well, I do my New York shows, but actually I'm doing a show for the first time in Dallas. Would you want to meet me down there?" I said, and my husband standing there has shocked that I'm even having this conversation, I'm sure. And I said, "Yep, I want to come down to Dallas. I want to see how you work. I want to see if I really want you to come to Minnesota." She hasn't even accepted to go to Minnesota, but I've already decided.
No. She did not say, "I'll see if I like you." She would have never said that there. She said, "Sure,
No,
I'll come
in
and
my
see
head,
how
I
it is."
think.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
In my head, I'm thinking, maybe I don't want her to come. Maybe I'm just on a vacation and, it's all in the moment. Fast forward, my husband and I go down to Dallas and she's doing this trunk show. So we have no idea. We book a room with her and her sister and her brother. May I add that?
Mm-hmm.
And Julio. Benji and I come down again. I really don't know her. And we check into this hotel and every room is a themed hotel room.
Right. Okay. I'll interrupt right here and then you'll keep on going. I arrived to the hotel and, I usually stay in beautiful hotels. The Four Seasons in Chicago, I get the presidential suites. And so this client of mine said, I go, well, and they said it was a modern. I said, okay, it's a modern. I walk in and I already go, a weird hotel. Okay. So I was supposed to get this super suite. I arrived there and they tell me.
Let me just stop you for a second, because when you have the suites that you have brought in your clothes. That's where your clients come and see things. So it's not about you are in the presidential suite. It's about, this is where you're doing your business.
Exactly.
It's her space. It's
my space. I rearranged the whole suite. I basically, it's not just a trunk show. I create a store for 2 or 3 days and it doesn't even look like it's a trunk show. I don't like trunk shows per se. So I wanted to do something that was totally different, where I would bring a store into the cities that I would go. So I walk in and they go, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Tattanelli, but the suite is no longer available. I look at him and go, excuse me? What do you mean it's no longer available? I prepaid. I have clients coming, and he goes, no, I'm really sorry. The people that were in it are going to keep on staying. I go, no, you don't understand. I need the suite. So, I'm very nice, and goes, I'm really sorry. There's no, but we can accommodate you outside in the pool space. It was off season, so the pool was covered and they had a covering. So during the day, I go there and I go, oh God, this is horrible. This really looked like it was really bad. It looked like I was just planning, racks and stuff. So I was so upset to begin with. My sister, she doesn't do this, but she had just come to accompany me. So, she's like, I'm going to go get something to eat and some coffee. She has a whole different thing. My brother was there to help. So then I start setting up and the lights, the dark starts coming around 3:00. We could not see from here to there. There were no lights. You couldn't see a color, anything. And here is, Lisa. I didn't even pay attention to Lisa at the beginning. I was so upset with everything. And there is Lisa sitting down with Benji and just watching what was going on. And I had no idea what she was thinking.
I was taking my mental notes.
Yeah. So we start, and we do all that. And then we all of us go back into our rooms. Well, I had the weirdest room. My brother was, thank God he was staying with my sister. So there was no doors. It was called the safari room, where basically there were no doors. Everything was open and everything was animal. I mean, it was just a nightmare. And then the next day,
okay, so Benji and I check into our room, and this is
same hotel.
I am telling the honest to God truth. We walk into the room. There is a stripper pole in the middle of the bed on the end with a huge glass table, and then the bed. And that's the focus of the whole room. Oh my God. I just didn't even speak.
I can only imagine what Benji was thinking.
No, wait, this is the best part of the story.
Oh, yes.
So he goes into the bathroom or something. And I think, I'm just going to have to do this once. Well, you need muscles to get on a stripper pole. And so just as I'm getting up on the stripper pole, just as like a joke, he walks out of the bathroom and he said, get down from there. And I said, what do you mean? I just want to see what this is like. He goes, you are going to fall on that glass table and you are going to crack your head open and you're going to get hurt. Get down from there. I started laughing.
So we all meet the next day together.
And we're all talking about our rooms.
Well, we are, but we're not. Then it was the flood. Do you remember the flood?
Yes, then the flood, yes.
Yes. Then my brother and my sister come down while we have the full-on show. You can't see anything. I am so upset. It was the worst experience ever, but we got to get a great relationship with Lisa.
We had time to talk with them.
And I was talking to clients and she goes, well, what color should I do? I said, it doesn't matter. I'll just choose one of these colors because I can't really see if it's blue or black. You'll get whatever you get. So it became a joke with all my clients. And I said, I'm really sorry. I don't know. So thank God most of my clients understood. I was so upset, when you work so hard and do it. And then with Lisa, and we were talking about this and on. And at one point, my brother comes down and goes, we have a big problem. What could happen now?
What more?
Our room is totally flooded. So the whole entire room, my sister, there was all flood, and they took all my brother's clothes. So somebody went into the room and stole all my brother's Armani suits, everything. So I tell you, we had the worst experience.
But
So
what
that
came
was our
out of
first
that,
encounter.
How many years ago was this?
10 years ago. But what came out of that was the following year, I had my first trunk show. That was in October. So the following, 1 year later.
Yeah, but I'll explain her first trunk show. Smaller suite. And, I was testing her. She was testing me. So we kind of did 2 days. Not many people. I ended up knowing after that it was all the people she really knew very well, like friends, just to make sure she didn't. And so
Katie was one of them.
It was. You were one of them.
Katie was on 18 people. It was 18 people.
That's it. And 18 people wasn't a lot of people for us to go into a place. But I said, you know what? We'll try it. And it was a very good success. It wasn't easy also for Lisa to trust me or me to trust. It was a two-way, but we clicked right away.
It's so interesting because I did not know this story. I did not know how you met, because when I came into it, I did not know that was the first trunk show. You two had truly a connection that you could see right there. I thought you had been friends for years. So that's testament to that simpatico of absolutely. And I have to tell you, my first piece that I bought is still my favorite piece.
Isn't it the black reversible?
Yes.
The reversible with the ruffles.
Yes,
it's mine.
It is still my favorite piece. And every time I wear it, which is particularly in Minnesota, a lot in the fall, a lot in the spring, I still get compliments.
Well, listen, do you remember I was wearing mine? It was gray.
Yes.
And I had it, and it was my good luck piece. And I had a gray and a black shorter one. And I'll tell you what happened to the black shorter one. So I wore that. And my brother said at one point, after 5 years, can we please change color or another one? Please, all you do is, because it was just the best part. You put it on and everything. So finally my brother says, okay, I'll do one. Just change it a little. We'll make it shorter, because my brother worked with me. He does no longer. But, so then I do a black shorter one, the one that was a little shorter. I arrived to one of the shows in New York, and she goes, I need that. And I need those. I go, well, I only have 5 things I bring with me. So basically she took my jacket, took my ballet flats off my feet,
which I still have and wear.
And she still has and wears.
Let's touch on this for a minute, because I think it's important. Obviously, when you do a custom piece, and I'm 6 feet tall, Lisa and I own a lot of the same clothing, which is really funny because you're what, 5 feet tall?
I am not 5 feet tall. I'm
4'9",
Katie. I am 5'4".
Okay. So we have a lot of the same style tastes that are very similar. Like you have that black coat.
Yes. That's the coat Jennifer just talked about. It actually was Jennifer's coat that I told her I had to have.
That's right.
She took it off and gave it.
Okay. So that was the first time I probably spent to that level for a piece of clothing. And I look at that now with as much as I've worn it and have it. And because of the quality, I mean, you can feel the quality. It, to me, is one of the best investments I've ever made in a piece of clothing, bar none.
And it gets better with age, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
That coat, that was the first gift that Jennifer ever gave me when we started on our trunk show. So I would go to New York for the spring shows and then do stuff for my clients there, because she wasn't coming to me for spring yet. I'll say that again, yet. And so she gave me that as a gift. And that became, as we always talk about, what is your lucky piece in your closet? That jacket is my lucky piece in my closet. And if any of my clients who will be listening or are listening to this podcast, I always wear that jacket the first day of every trunk show.
And Machiavelli shirt.
And the white Machiavelli shirt, which I have bought numerous times. I'm probably on my 3rd or 4th edition.
I'm going to need another one because thank you, COVID. But
speaking of the Machiavelli blouse, that is the famous blouse that is fantastic. I have several clients that has become their Zoom blouse, and they just have it on a hanger. They put it on, and that's what they wear.
Jennifer, what's the quick description on the Machiavelli blouse?
So it's called Machiavelli because it's got a collar that represents the Machiavelli in the 14th century that almost looked like it was how would you explain, a crown around the neck?
Crown, yes.
And also on the cuffs. So it's a very complicated shirt that pleats down, stretch, poplin cotton, which I do very many things, shirts and dresses. And it is really a perfect length because you can wear it with fitted pants. You can go inside and wear it with, more of a open leg pant. You can wear with a skirt. And it's one of those pieces that is an icon piece that I think everybody should have a beautiful white, crisp white shirt in their closet. Talking about icon pieces, what's important is a jacket, shoes, and a bag are the most important things, I think, where people should spend, because are things that are going to represent whatever you have, you know, shirts and things like that.
I know you have some incredible, because I own them, shoes. Talk about icon pieces there.
Shoes, I believe, are one of the most important things, not only for beauty and icon pieces that are classic, but also for comfort. So one of my icon pieces, if you want a flat, is a ballerina. I was hit and run over by a car about 12 years ago. And I had always said to myself, I'll never wear flat shoes and a crossbody bag. I always had full high heels, beautiful bags. And I was pregnant with my children 8 months and I still wore heels. Well, my life changed in one split second and I was no longer able to wear anything for many, many years. I had operations, knees and everything. So I have a heritage of medical with my family. And also I was going to become a doctor. And then I decided to go back in my family, Italian side of the family, which my mother's from New York, went to Italy in 1968 and met my dad. And that was love. Big scandal in the American side of the family, but we'll pass that to another time. And I decided to work with an orthopedic and my shoe designer and my the people that actually made shoes. And I said, we have got to find shoes that are comfortable, look good, and feel good. And so my first design was a ballet flat, which has a little insert in the back. It's square. And the idea came from my icon, Audrey Hepburn. And my clothing represents her a lot, you know, skinny capri pants, my flats that look like ballerinas because I was a ballerina, and my Audrey coat or my ruffled coat. I believe that if you have a great flat shoe that is not too covered, it's a little sexy, but feminine at the same time and comfortable and stays on your foot, is one of the hardest things to do, because flat shoes, if they're not perfectly done by millimeter around your foot, they open on the sides. When you walk, they kind of slim. So it was very hard to actually do this shoe. But once I got it, it became one of my must-have. From there, I went on to a higher wedge, a 40 millimeter, then a 60 millimeter. And then I now actually have, 90, which is a high heel. And who's ever tried my boots, my shoes, I believe your testimony that they are very comfortable. And that was my career then became extremely beautiful, but the most important, also comfortable.
So important. And again, yes, testimony, I think, from both Lisa and I. And again, lasting, if you take care of them. I'm definitely due for another pair of tennis shoes.
Those have my memory foam.
Yes.
Those are the new ones with the memory foam. They're fantastic. I started that because under COVID, nobody was really going anywhere. And it was really more of a casual. So again, under COVID, we had a lot of time to think of life has changed. We're going to have a new normal. Many things have become now at home, no longer going to the office. And I think it's going to be for a while. And I always say Hermes put jeans for the first time in their collection about 7 years ago. And now jeans have become, you can wear them mainly everywhere. So sneakers, you have sneakers of all kinds, but I would buy sneakers and my feet would hurt. They'd be too heavy. They're plastic. They're not so I said, how can we do it so I feel a little high? Because I always felt I'm not very tall. I'm a little taller than Lisa. I'm 1 inch taller than Lisa, but still,
not by much. We wear the same shoe size. We're basically the same.
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you, I'm a little jealous of that, because when she can walk in and say, I want that and that and that.
Oh, no, I thought I had my sister. No, now I have Lisa too. And so, I really, at least my sister doesn't take my shoes because she has bigger feet. But so I really thought to work around that. And I started having what we call memory foam. So my sneakers, I did 3 designs. And then now I have a huge collection of sneakers where I changed the laces. And when you put them on, basically this memory foam, you walk and you feel like you're in clouds. And slowly, the more you wear them, the more I work in my sneakers, which I never, ever thought I would ever work in sneakers.
I have several clients that love your tennis shoes. And then sometimes she lets me custom what I want on the tennis shoes. I can send her over the edge on that. They're the best.
I brought Lisa specifically also where we do the shoes because, Lisa would say, okay, let's take this shoe. Let's do this color. Let's do this stitch. And she would drive us at a show literally insane. The people were like, okay, and then I wanted to, and it was hard for me to explain to her how hard and complicated it is when she starts switching everything, which it's not like we can't do. So when she saw that at every single color she changes, every single heel she changes, there is some little saint that takes a little piece of thread, puts it back on the machine, takes that, then takes another thread. So a shoe that would cost 10, really, who knows how much it does cost in timing, but again, we had fun. But I really loved to bring her to show, because it's such an amazing thing.
I was doing my background in you, and I love what you said about this. Nobody needs anything. It's about an experience, a quality, a dream. Talk a little bit more about that, because I think that focuses in, especially in light of COVID. So when you look at creating this business that you've created and moving forward with new reality, where do you see it going? What do you see happening?
Well, I think my nobody needs anything is the fact that we all have a pair of shoes to put on, something to put on our body and go out. But it's about finding the right fit for you. So I always say, you shouldn't be fitting my clothes. My clothes should be fitting you. And that means you have to find who you are. And I really try. And every time I have a client or friends or people even that can't even, sometimes not everybody can afford my items, I know. Even them, I take the time to say, look, let's look through your closet or look through your closet. And this is what Lisa has taught me, because, we always laugh and we always tease, but I've learned so much from Lisa. I produce, I design, I fit people, I dress people, I do custom made. But how can I bring that custom made of new items fitting into what they already have? So I actually tested, this is funny because the other day I had a woman, she was not in a very nice position. Her husband had just passed away, and she didn't like anything. She didn't fit into anything. She was really sad. And I thought about Lisa and I said, okay, why don't you bring some of your things that you have in your closet that are beautiful? I mean, she had beautiful things, but she wasn't dressing them well, her hair, everything. And I spent a whole day with her, showing her the shoes that would go with that, pinning her clothes. I brought her to the tailor because obviously I can't bring it back to Italy right now, and I don't have anybody. So I found somebody very nice here, and she almost started crying and saying, well, how much do I owe you? I said, no. So I really want people to find what their person is and to be happy. I always see somebody that if I take them away from their comfort zone, they don't stand right. But sometimes if I take them out of their comfort zone and I put something that they wouldn't have put on, they kind of sit up straight, put their hands in the pocket, I know that they're feeling good. They stand up straight. Or so those are little hints that help me then build up something that gives them the strength of being a strong woman. We're all strong. I always say we're all beautiful. Everybody has two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. It's just, how do we bring the beauty that is inside out? And really, that's what I really love to do. My job that I love the most is to make people happy. And I see that they're satisfied. I'm not a salesperson per se. I really am not. Although everybody says I'm very good at doing it, but I'm not a salesperson. I love to explain and to make people feel good.
You have an incredible family history. I'm looking at my notes, Lisa. This is a shout out to you.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. So your grandfather was a world-renowned pathologist. Your uncle, great uncle, right, is best known as Mark Twain.
Yes.
Who brought us Huckleberry Finn.
Yes.
Your grandmother was a well-known folk art collector. Your other
and
grandmother,
one of the most important pianists in New York, concert pianist. She used to be one of the few women that played Rachmaninoff. That's how she ended up going into New York. And the wedding was, back then they already knew who was going to get married, but she's from Texas. Yes, San Antonio.
Okay. Yeah. Your other grandmother, a weaver, and your grandfather, a tailor.
Mm-hmm.
And your mother was a painter who worked with Andy Warhol, also created theatrical costumes.
Yes.
You mentioned that you had started out going into medicine and then pivoted. How in the world did you choose? Did it find you? Were you drawn to it? What was that path? And from there, we're going to talk about how you create.
Yeah. Well, I was the first grandchild from the two sides of the family. And I was torn because I had my American side that was not exactly happy about my mother, a Ewing, marrying an Italian, a tailor, and was a very, very particular situation. On the other hand, I would go in Tolsi, in this little town. That's where my grandmother and her sisters, and they would sit on these big steps. Imagine these old little towns where there's steps going down and each step has a door going in and these ladies that would sit down and start weaving, baskets and all that, and talking about, what are you going to cook today? Oh, I'm going to make lasagna. I'm going to do, and they start at 5 a.m. And I really wanted my American side to really, kind of reconnect. So I was so intrigued by pathology and learning how to help other people and finding a cure, a horrible, disease that is cancer, and there's the Ewing sarcoma. And I just wanted to pursue that. But when I started the idea of doing that, my father looked at me and go, and me? What am I going to do? 12 generations since the 1400s, and made me feel very, okay. So, but I remember going back and seeing how they would weave. And I I was torn. I was completely torn for many, many years. And one day I just remember my grandmother looked at me, my American grandmother, and said, Jennifer, you have to do what you love to do. It doesn't matter what you think we want you to do. I had a great relationship with her. My father and she didn't really, but I think, not saying her favorite, no, because it's not, but we had a fantastic relation. We really understood each other. And I really loved. And I remember looking at the folk art we were living in. We were in the Amish carriages in the house. She goes, that's not a toy. That's we're all the cousins. And I spent every summer with her. And I remember she said, you don't have to do this because you have to do what you love. So I really took the time and I went home. I spoke to my dad, and I wasn't a boy. So it wasn't easy for him either, because I wasn't the boy of the family. And it was never, I'm the first woman in the family to actually ever be in the business. There were no women ever. So it wasn't easy for me either there. So I had to work 3 times as much. And I remember I made my choice, and I still have a background of medicine. So I still help my kids in first aid, but I also, through that, I was able to bring it into my fashion and create things that, like in the shoes, understand what a custom made jacket is. If somebody is as tall as you, it's not just about doing patterns or learning how to draw. Everybody says, I want to be a fashion designer. There's a lot of fashion designers, but learning how to bring that product to actually fit well, there's not very many out there, I don't think, anymore. And it's going to be a lost art. I mean, even weaving bags around boxes of wood as I do, it's really a lost art. It's going to be hard.
There's no machining.
There's no machine. In doing material and clothing, there are machines that you can put 1,000 sleeves all left, 1,000 sleeves all right, and a laser will cut through it. Material is all the same. They don't have defects. Leather's all different. You can have a pink tone and I can have more an olive tone. So that same dye will pick up differently. So when you have to match them all together, make sure there isn't a hole. And in my business, I am very known for reversibles, as the jacket you have. So that's even more complicated, because first I have to match the top, make sure that the pieces fit, because you've seen I don't do many cuts. The more cuts there are in a leather jacket, the more it's less valuable, because obviously you take it. So I match that. Then I have to make sure that those patterns match underneath. So it's a very long process. People that actually do this and cut the leather, you don't cut it with scissors, but you cut it with a knife. They have decades of 20 years of experience. You can't just teach it in one day, because, there are some parts, it's happened where you can't see it, but in a sleeve, if I take the piece of the leather that is what we call a little bit cooked, we call cooked leather, we can't see it until people put it on and start wearing it. It can tear. But that's something that is in the animal, it's happened, right? I don't know where by the using, this is where we use it the most. So there's people that know how to cut and then sew and then work. It's the most old and beautiful art that is still in this world. There's no machine at all that can actually do leather and cut leather and create something.
What do you see the future being?
The young generation doesn't really want to work with their hands, which I always say, if somebody really one day wants to have a great career, they have to learn what is called the mestiere. Mestiere is learning how to use your hands, because everybody will have these computers, everybody's going to be technological, but who's going to actually do it? So I'm really trying, and maybe we can work together. How do I stimulate a younger generation in learning something like that? We have to teach them a passion. So whenever I have a younger generation or, a teenager or somebody that says, I want to do fashion, I want to be a designer, I try to say, look, tell you the truth, learn how to do a pattern. Then you can create. There's a lot of Japanese that actually come to Florence and do apprenticeship in who does shoes. They love shoes. And in fact, they bring it back to Japan and they are doing a great job. But I have to tell you, there's not many, unfortunately, not many.
Well, that's, we're gonna have to put that energy out into the world, just like you and Lisa met and started this, that something will drive that right person to you, because I feel like it's so important. We're going to take a short break and hear from our favorite sponsor, Rustica Bakery, and then we'll be back to have more incredible conversation with Jennifer Tattanelli and Lisa Rubin.
On the View in Your Mirror podcast, we love sharing our personal favorites. Rustica Bakery is high on that list, and we know you're going to agree. Rustica has 2 locations. They're original at 3224 West Lake Street in Minneapolis, across from Calhoun Commons and Whole Food Market, and Southdale Center next to Lifetime, where you'll enter without even going into the mall. Both have ample parking. Either online or in-store, bread, breakfast, dessert, treats, a menu sure to allow you to find a personal favorite in no time. Online ordering is a breeze and curbside pickup is an option. Available in-store only are savory menu items. Think grab and go for lunch or enjoy them there. Brunch items are offered Friday through Sunday. My personal favorite is the Take and Bake cookies, available online or in-store. Truly a capstone for any get-together, and in just 15 minutes from package to plate, a memory to make. We highly suggest you always have these in your freezer. RusticaBakery.com. Find the food and drink you adore or try something new. Rustica Bakery puts the love shown by their customers back into every item baked. At Rustica, you're among favorites.
I want you to walk me through how the market has changed.
I actually moved to Palm Beach after what happened to New York and the store in New York, and they broke into it.
Oh.
And then I went over, no, it was horrible. And then we went over to the Hamptons in the summer. I had the store. None of my, colleagues could fly in. So I have been on my own. I've not been on a plane since last December. I went for 3 days. I haven't seen my dad since the 22nd of December. And I left.
Mom.
And my mom. She's
How old are your parents?
75 and 76. I cannot wait to get a vaccine and fly over. My problem is that it's the only store open right now out of the 5 stores I have. That's the only one is Palm Beach, and nobody can fly over here. So if I leave, it's 2 weeks quarantine there. Then I'll stay 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then 2 weeks quarantine here. That means that I don't work, and this is the highest season right here. And here it's not bad. My mom, she hasn't seen a soul since last February.
Except for your dad.
Yeah, can you imagine?
No.
She's going crazy. So she built a golf course in the house. So
she built a golf course?
In her property. So she's been playing golf in her property. Because, it's big. You saw the house in the country. But it's 7 acres.
We were supposed to go.
Okay. So it's 7 acres. So she created a golf course in the spring, and she's painting again, like you cannot believe. Finally, my mom is painting again. Beautiful. My mom was a great painter. I mean, she worked with Andy Warhol.
And she was a photographer, very famous photographer.
All my pictures you see that are all my mom, and none of them have ever been retouched.
I got to spend an afternoon with her mom alone because Jennifer had to work. Surprise, even though I was coming over. But we had the best time together.
Yeah.
The mother loved every minute of my neurosis.
And she'll laugh about everything. Oh, she's hysterical. I mean, she has the best sense of humor. She even now, but even now she starts, we start giggling about certain things. And that's the only thing. Thank God we have, Zoom and all that, and WhatsApp. And because.
Is your dad actually staying home?
Yeah, you couldn't leave. So from my house in the country, they could not get into Florence. My sister could not go up to my parents because it's like saying Palm Beach Island and West Palm Beach. The people from West Palm Beach could not go to Palm Beach and vice versa. You could only go to grocery shop or whatsoever. You can't go in and out of Europe. All the borders are closed. Asia is working and they're doing much better. In fact, some of the production that is saving some of our production is them.
So you're producing for some of the designers for the Asian distribution, right?
For them. And obviously then I'm pretty sure they're going to be selling there, but it's very slow. Everybody's taking, like, for instance, we were talking about winter 2022-23, and also this winter. For this winter, everybody's kind of reorganizing what they had already done. Nobody's really investing in doing, or invested, obviously, in doing a huge collection. For instance, who had an early delivery, got everything, and then was stuck with everything, okay? Who instead didn't get an early delivery, they canceled everything. So on both sides, they had too much remaining, and some had too much in the selling remaining, so they can't buy, and the other ones couldn't sell. And the same thing goes for the material.
Like, how do you know how much leather they're to purchase? Can that last for 5 years, or how does that work?
Leather doesn't go bad, the crude leather, okay? But before, I was able to say, okay, I'm just going to give you an X number, 1,000 feet, which is piedi, of leather. I'm just going to give you an idea, and I could say, and they would do maybe 2,000, and they would keep 1,000. Nobody's keeping any inventory. So that means I have to understand, how many do you think I can sell? So it becomes a little more complicated, because then when I do custom orders, then it's no longer 5 to 6 weeks, but it could be also 9 to 10 weeks, because then I finish that color. I have to reorder the color. The color takes a certain amount of time to process, to color, to sit, and everything. And so that gets that longer. So, everybody is kind of saying, should I order the double of the Riri zippers? My zippers that nobody really thinks about zippers, but zippers, ones I use.
Now I do.
Are really, really expensive. So zippers can come in sizes, and then can come in rolls that you just cut. But normally the rolls are more plasticky, very cheap, or they're used really for clothes if you want to have a very teeny zipper. The ones I do, especially for the jackets and the bags, they're also what we call sizing. Okay, so I have to buy a certain size for one size bag, the inside of the pockets of the bag, the inside of the pocket, and then I have to decide what color. Each color of a bag has to have the same color in the what we call a mostra of a zipper. A zipper has the two materials on the side where you stitch it onto the bag. Those have to be in color. So I not only have to do inventory of the sizing of the zipper, but I have to do inventory of the color of the sizing of the zipper. So that's where it starts being extremely complicated. And I have to tell you, it's been terrible for a lot of things, but COVID also helped me kind of reorganize and see that, we can have a different approach to things. And, you didn't have time to do many of the things that, it was day-to-day base, family, survival. And even this, we would have never done it, maybe, if it hadn't been. I wouldn't have done my videos on my Instagram.
Which are so great.
They're have no idea. Great. I sweat every time. I never repeat it. I said, if it's not right, it's okay. It's my English. I don't care. I would sweat. I'm not very good on camera or speaking, but I had so many people that were just so scared, depressed, lonely, and felt like, as my father said, Jennifer, I'm 75, 76, sorry, almost. And he said, they stole a year out of my life. And you have still. So a lot of people were going through that. And if we could just give them a moment of happiness, of fun, and, feel like it's a way. And I remember talking to Lisa a lot about also how we should actually wake up, put some makeup, feel the part, dress the part, from up to here. So I even work with Lisa on a lot of the clients with her, to help them with their meetings at home.
So true. I think COVID focused people on what was important. There's a word, and I can never say it right, and I want you to tell me what it means. You talked about mestiere, right? Mestiere. Atelier?
Atelier.
Okay.
Atelier. You said it perfectly.
Okay.
Well, it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Okay. So a store is a store that gets a collection and takes that collection and sells it to the client. An atelier is they design it, they cut it, they produce it, they take your measurements. So it's not a production, but it goes from the beginning to the end. They fit you, they put, sometimes we do the fittings. In our case, I've become very specialized also in trying to, if it's a complicated, sending over a mock, trying it on there and, having a tailor kind of pin it, or we talk to it. But it is from the start to the beginning. So I have clients that come in and say, I want this exactly. They'll give me a picture, they'll give me an idea. And in this work, I can do anything you want that is possible. I always say it's about time and money. some of the times. Other times it really isn't. It's, I don't try to tell people if I can work around an already existing pattern that is doing something custom made. So in the case of yours, we had the pattern, the P312, with the ruffles, and I took your measurements and I made it to your measurements. Maybe a client wants this picture, they bring it, that's a bespoke. So a bespoke is taking and starting from scratch, from no pattern, no nothing. It is completely designed. We take the measurements and I create a pattern. That is what's called bespoke. A lot of these companies now are saying we do custom made, and they put like the two initials, monogram, that's custom made, or I make it a little longer, that's not. People say, how much is it to put my initials on? Nothing. It takes me 2 seconds to put initials on a leather. Seriously. So, it's about a story. It's about how people tend to, say it's custom made.
Yes.
I wish people could see my fingers going, "Ma che custom made."
But exactly
the
what
Italian part of your heritage, of what you're doing with those fingers, everyone can see that in their mind right now. Let's talk about this for a minute. I have heard the term private label.
Yes.
Tell me what private label means as it pertains to you.
Okay. So private label is basically working with some name brands, famous, less famous, that give us a design. And with our knowledge, we create a creation for them. And then we do the production. Sometimes they will use us for the prototypes. So there's a long process. It almost takes 2 years from the beginning to the end. A prototype, we adjust the prototype. It goes back and forth. And then some of them will send a lot also to Asia and have it copied and then produce it there. Because unfortunately, a lot of people think of name brands as quality. And I'm saying there are, and all that. But a lot of them, unfortunately, now have been bought out by these big giants that is really about the EBITDA. EBITDA, so if nobody knows what this is basically how much it costs and how much we're going to gain. So everything in the middle. In the 80s, that's what had happened. Most of it was all done and produced in China because it started being more, of a mass production. Slowly, they've come back to the Italians because the way we do it really is different. The way we do the tanning process, the way we do certain things. But the truth is, a lot of people don't understand that made in Italy also can be too tricky. One, you can just put a heel on a shoe and you can say made in Italy. You can just sew a button on something and you can say made in Italy. You can just put the final zipper on a bag and it says made in Italy. And that's something that the Italian organization of production, we are fighting because it's not fair. But that bag, instead of costing a certain amount, let's say 10, that bag really cost them 1, but because it's made in Italy, they can sell. So there is an issue, but they do pay my kids' college tuition. So, so that's my business, but my passion is my service to my private clients in my store, which they come in and everything, as Lisa knows, what you find in my store, you find nowhere else than in my store. And sometimes I have limited edition by default. They say, why don't you put limited edition on this bag or on this? I go, because most of my bags are limited edition. I do 1, 2, I do custom made, I create colors, I have fun. But thanks to that, I'm able to do this because it's certainly not where I'm going to become, very rich on, because custom making.
But it's your passion.
It's my passion.
It's my passion.
You never know how much something is actually going to cost until we actually do it. I can ballpoint, but so we're in a production, that the minutes, the seconds, how long does it take to sew that? So it's all calculated, but I love it.
So I've been very quiet.
I can't believe it.
I know. I'm trying really hard because I love to listen to you. And I have had the wonderful opportunity to get to know Jennifer over the last 10 years. We do a lot of business together. And for me, I think there's no one else like her in the world. And that's why I wanted to have her on our podcast as our first guest, because it's been an unbelievable relationship. And I have been able to go to Italy. She actually talked me into taking clients of mine to Italy. We've done 3 trips. The first time I did it, I had to go to a pre-trip to evaluate if I wanted to do the trip.
Of
It's
course
just kind of
did.
like the notes. But the first time I did take 8 women, and she surprised us and took us to 2 of her very special factories. And we got to see the process that she just talked about. And it is something that I still think about, and the art that it takes to do something like this, and to see all the paper hanging patterns hanging on a hanger for each person. And there is no machines. Like, you do not see a machine. Maybe there was one computer, maybe one, and it was probably to do mailing labels or something. And it's fascinating. And I hope everybody can have an opportunity to see something like this in their lifetime.
I can only hope that I get to take that trip someday.
You must.
I don't know.
have
I'll
to.
see if you're on the list, Katie. I'll just see.
Well, I sure hope so. And my background was in shoes. I sold shoes for years and years and years, and I would go
I
to
did
New
not
York
know
on
that.
I would go to New York on buys, and then I worked for I. Miller in New York, based, and they were bought out by Debenhams. And so, yes, I have a long history of shoes. And then I was a wholesale rep based in Dallas, so I know that market very well. So it's all come together in the conversations that Lisa and I have, and the treasure it is to get to know you, Jennifer. Tell me, I know that you have a store on Worth Avenue in Palm Beach, and you are open every day?
Yep. For now, I'm closed on a Sunday because I need one day off.
Yes.
Because it's very hard to find people that understand what I do. And most of my girls would fly back and forth and train. There's not possible because you cannot fly in from Europe to here. And so out of 6 stores, only Palm Beach will be open until now. In April, I will be opening up Woodbury, which is on Long Island. I was supposed to open Aspen and Naples, but that's not going to happen. It postponed. And we hope by October, we'll start the shows again, and we'll be in Minneapolis, Chicago, and we'll be with Lisa. I hope, March, I don't think the show this has been after 22 years of shows. It's the first year I haven't done it. So yeah.
Well, and we talked about the things you're learning out of COVID and how you're able to address things and focus on different things. If people want to get a hold of you, they can come into your store, but you also have an online presence. You're on Instagram. I love your Instagram videos.
I know, they're fun.
What's your website?
It's jennifertattanelli.com. It's my name, and they can contact anytime, see if they'd like to have information. Most of my girls also in Italy, they're from home. They answer, but they can contact me anytime. And I will be more than glad to help them and to have any questions. I love what I do. Again, I wish I could get more people, more of the younger, because our generation understands it. And it's about quality. So it's about even my bags inside. They're not done. It's like lingerie. You don't buy lingerie because it's for others. You do it for yourself. It's what we talked about, the undergarments. It's you. The same thing as a bag. It's you. The shoes. It's about Jennifer's world that is involving your world. So how do I make you comfortable, beautiful, feel good, and smile and have a good feeling about yourself? It's an experience.
It is. It's a wonderful one. Last question for you. What is your favorite lucky piece?
My ballet flats. My black ballet flats that Lisa stole, so I had to redo another pair, but that's okay. My ballet flats. They're that's the beginning of a whole different version of Jennifer that changed my life. I mean, my accident didn't change. They changed my life, and it changed. I always see the glass half full. No matter how hard things are, there's something always good about something, So I think of my accident that was pretty bad. I had my 1-year-old with me, and thank God nothing happened to him, Jonathan. And this came out, creating things to make people happy. I have seriously clients that come in and say, I cannot wear shoes anymore. I have huge problems. And they walk out and they're the happiest people because they put heels on again. They put shoes on. And I am doing a lot for men too, so it's really, it's like I said, nobody needs anything. We all have everything. Why should we buy? It makes you feel good. It makes you happy. And it's something that's for you. It's not about a logo. It's not about a name brand. It's really about quality and fitting you to make you happy.
Jennifer Tattanelli, we thank you so much for being our first guest on our podcast. I have goosebumps. I am so happy to have done this with you.
Well, I thank you. And also Lisa, it was an honor. It's actually, I'll tell you, it's my first podcast. So I can't tell you I wasn't nervous because I'm very good on one-on-one, but in front of people, I kind of get, very iffy, but I cannot thank you enough. I really love to listen to your podcast. I do it all the time. I re-listen to most of them. And like I said, I take all the little nicks and tricks. So better be careful, Lisa. No, I'm kidding. And if you need any other interesting people that you would like to hear about, jewelry or things or that make, this whole world of women, I'll be more than happy. And hopefully when you come to Palm Beach, you'll see the store again.
Wait,
Mamma mia.
Can't obviously thank you enough. It was wonderful having you. Of course, I look forward to every day aggravating you with something that I call you about. And you always come through for me. So thank you.
Thank you both. I'm so excited and happy.
You're welcome. Jennifer,
ciao. I got to go sell some shoes. Really.
Ciao. Love you.
Ciao. Mwah.
Okay, so Lisa, our nonprofit spotlight this show is PRISM, prismminneapolis.org. I should say PRISM, PRISM, MPLS.org will get you more information on this incredible 501c3 nonprofit founded in 1970 by folks who were concerned about the local hungry and homeless population. Started as a very small informal effort and has evolved into a strong, sustainable organization that is considered a leading provider of the basic needs and services in the Northwest Twin Cities suburbs. So each year, with the help of all the donors, they've provided 800,000 pounds of food to 6,000 children, adults, and seniors. They helped 120 families obtain and maintain stable housing, supplied 250 families with clothing for school and work. We just cannot stress enough how much COVID has affected all of our lives. And there are so many people that we don't know about who are suffering and struggling. So organizations like PRISM and others we have talked about are really incredible, and we're happy to spotlight them.
I agree, Katie. And I hope that people will take a look at this organization because there are a lot of people that are in need of an organization like this.
PRISM, PRISM, MPLS.org. What an incredible experience to be able to talk to Jennifer. Thank you so much for all the work that you do and for the connection that you made. Pretty fun.
It was fun. It came full circle because I really am always interested every time she talks about the space she comes from, because I still find it fascinating every day to listen to something, and I always learn a little bit more from her.
I can see why your relationship is so special with her. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, because you can also direct them to Jennifer as well and help work them through that relationship, how do they do that?
Lisa at wardrobeconsulting.net.
And I am Katie at katieharms.com. And we are the View in Your Mirror podcast. You can find us at theviewinyourmirror.com. We thank you for coming along and listening. And we know that particularly with your newfound knowledge of Jennifer and some of the little hints and tips that she gave us, the View in Your Mirror is going to only get more beautiful.
You're right, Katie.